It is Friday, August 7th. Let's talk PlayStation. Yep, we have a lot to go over. PS5 related, thankfully, but it's getting exciting, or at least it should be in the next 2-3 weeks. But for now, our PlayStation Plus reminder, which is for the August titles, Fall Guys and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Campaign Remastered, you have a lot of time to download these games or add them to your library. Let's start with a minor update to PlayStation Now. A few games were recently added. That's Dead Cells, Hitman 2. Those will be available till February 2021. You've also got AO Tennis on there, Warhammer, one of the more recent Warhammer games. Also Greedfall as well, so always seeing a constant rotating lineup of those more premium titles, but also some games that are just staying within that 800 plus library. Also, if you didn't see, about 2 weeks ago, Sony was giving out $10 PSN vouchers to a select small group of people, but it was a global giveaway more or less in celebration of 10 years of PlayStation Plus. So a few people were reporting this promotion that if you logged into PSN, you got $10 of free PSN credit. Well, as of right now, Sony's also sending out a free discount to a PlayStation Plus membership for either the 3 months or the 12-month subscription. So you're still buying something, but it's about a third discount off of the normal price that you'd see for your territory for a 3 or 12-month subscription. So when you log into PSN, make sure you see if you have any notifications from Sony themselves offering this promotion to you. Now, if you didn't see our Tuesday video, we covered up Sony outlining what current PS4 accessories will work on PlayStation 5, and as it turns out, most things should work just fine, assuming it's a general third-party peripheral that normally works up and down the board for most consoles, right? We're talking about fight sticks, racing wheels, even headsets, right? If it connects to a 3.5mm headphone jack, it's expected to work. Same if it uses a USB dongle. For the most part, PS5 will accept and use all these things. However, with DualShock 4, it will work on PlayStation 5, but only for PS4 games, so you can't use a DualShock 4 to play PlayStation 5 software. It was also confirmed that the PlayStation VR aim controller and also a PS4 camera will work on PS5, but for the PS4 camera, that'll need a free adapter that they will offer to you, assuming that you're a PSVR owner. So we don't know how they're going to do that, how they're going to authenticate your PSVR ownership, but if you want to bring a PS4 camera, not buy that PS5 one, assuming that you can use a PS5 camera for a PS4 PSVR, they will offer a free adapter to you at some point. They'll give us some details on how you can actually claim that. Now, dialing back to the DualShock 4 issue, though, of not being able to use this for PS5 software, one big area that many are really overlooking is the implications of this announcement for people that are in the disabled community, right? Disabled gamers, that for them it's very important that they have a lot of accessibility options on PlayStation 5, and so for some people, we can't speak for everybody, of course, depending on their condition, but it seems like many actually found the DualShock 4 to be a very comfortable and easy-to-use controller for playing PS4 games, and so it's upsetting news for them that they can't use this to play PS5 games specifically, and so they may be up to task with trying to figure out some sort of custom controller, which I'm sure is a hassle and a half trying to figure that out and could get very expensive. Third-party controllers may be a good option, really depends. There's just this unknown, of course, of if the DualSense is worse, then how are they really going to be able to play PS5 games? Maybe it will be better, that's certainly a potential here, but it's still a growing concern, right? Whatever might be seen as an inconvenience of not being able to use all your DualShock 4s is detrimental to somebody that may not be able to use a DualSense at all because of something that's out of their control. But anyway, moving on, while we're on the topic of PlayStation 5 accessories, Sony updated the PlayStation website once again, keeping up with those marketing materials, and now we've got full 360-degree view of PlayStation 5 accessories and some new details, right? So for example, with the DualSense, we are learning that it will receive software updates. So this controller will be slightly configurable, probably going to be just a number of bug fixes more than anything else, but obviously something like DualShock 4 is just a pretty stock controller where what you see is what you get, so the DualSense can be slightly adjusted over time with some software fixes. That's good to see. Right now, you're not going to see anything major out of that, but that's just something that we learned. We also found out for the Pulse 3D headphones that these will be compatible with PC, PS4. These are not just strictly proprietary to PlayStation 5 in any way, so you will be able to use these on other devices that you may have. For the PlayStation 5 camera, it's being touted as a 1080p wide-angle lens, record yourself, your gameplay with the DualSense Create button. Got that built-in stand to go on the top or the bottom of your TV. Nothing really crazy here. No mention of being able to use this camera for the current PlayStation VR headset, but it does mention background removal tools. So, for example, if you want to crop the actual capture of yourself, right? Or if you have a green screen, you can completely remove the background. A few sites have been reporting this as a brand new feature. If you didn't know, PlayStation 4 can actually do this with a green screen. You can do a chroma key on PlayStation 4 with the current camera. They don't talk about it much, or really it just came as part of a firmware update, I believe. I don't think it was day one as a feature, but it's something PS4 can do. So while I don't doubt that PS5 improves this, not necessarily brand new. I was hoping we'd get some kind of detail about if this camera could be used for the current PSVR headset, but for now at least, we do have that. Next up, keeping in line with our accessory news, we also saw a picture of a black DualSense leak online, and this is something where very much an early prototype controller, you're seeing mismatched buttons where you've got the white stock buttons we see on the normal controller on this one, so, you know, pretty indicative that this is some kind of prototype not meant to be released at retail or anything like that. But you would imagine that whenever we get a true black variation offered at retail, it would have color matching buttons, which would be that translucent black. To be honest, whenever we do get a black controller that's a retail controller to buy, that thing will probably be just straight blacked out from top to bottom, although technically the two-tone finish of the DualSense, inherently the base color has that darker navy, so that might look slightly off. I'd actually appreciate that being completely blacked out as well, but that might be the one consistent color throughout a line of optional DualSense colors. Either way, still nice to see what looks like an IRL picture of a black DualSense, even with the mismatched buttons. But you can also see actually with the measurements that this prototype controller is actually smaller than the stock DualSense, so this might be a very old prototype. Not that old, because anything beyond this would probably look like a radically different controller, which Sony is a business, they'll R&D plenty of prototypes that look nothing like what we are getting at retail. Moving on to our next news story, we had our State of Play just yesterday, that August 6th one that initially started as a rumor that we would have it August 6th, but it would be some kind of PS5 focused State of Play, right? Where you'd get crucial information about Sony's lineup, possibly price, release date. Of course, that didn't pan out, but you have to love Sony's transparency, which is that they warned people right when they announced it, in the tweet, in the PlayStation blog, no major announcements for PlayStation 5. So whether you liked or disliked the show, you have to love the transparency and the warning that, hey, a lot of PS4 VR content, things like that, some PS5 stuff, but nothing major like you were expecting. So either way, let's go over the event real quick. If you didn't see, quick recap here. It opened up with some gameplay for Crash Bandicoot 4. We actually learned a lot about it, right? Some cool gameplay mechanics, costumes. There's going to be no microtransactions, the different masks. Dingo Dial is playable. That's awesome. There's going to be some cool filters. Game coming October 2nd. Then you've got Hitman 3, where actually it has PlayStation VR support for all the previous locations, including the new ones. That is incredible. So honestly, that's one of the biggest announcements here. So big reason to get PlayStation VR. Braid Anniversary Edition is coming. They've done a lot of modern updates to the game, really cleaned it up there. That's coming early next year. The Pathless, this is for PlayStation 5, coming holiday 2020. So very dark and dreary looking, but it's that game with that archer and the eagle, right? You're exploring, you're doing a lot of flying. It does look cool though, I'm interested. Then we've got Spelunky 2 gameplay, a showcase of the multiplayer, all the new updates that you can expect for Spelunky, coming September 15th. 2020. Then we get Genshin Impact, a trailer. This game's coming autumn 2020 for PS4. This is that game that initially was, clowned right away for, for looking very similar to Breath of the Wild, and it still very much does, just with a lot of anime and stuff. Then Aeon Must Die, a trailer coming 2021 for PS4. So allegedly this game has a very dark history behind it, where the owner, the founder, all the employees were horribly mistreated and the IP was stolen from the publisher. We can't really get into that right now, but that sounds awful despite how the game looks. Then we've got Anno Mutationem for PS4. I don't know why they got to call it a name that I can't pronounce, but this actually, I also love how this looks. I mean, some of these smaller independent games, they never cease to blow me away with how they can be so much different from their perspective and design, and just how they approach the way that their game looks overall, right? Barring any sort of criticisms about the quality of the game, it always is great to see very unique takes on the presentation of how a game will actually look. Then we got Bug Snacks, a gameplay trailer. Some people didn't realize this, but the game was already confirmed to be from a first-person perspective, which is weird, and it does throw off some pretty strange vibes, but this is very much like our our Octodad for PlayStation 5, and I'm still all about it. You got Star Wars Vader Immortal for PSVR coming August 25th, 2020. If you're into Star Wars and you got VR, you're probably psyched about this. Control Expansion 2, Awe, coming August 27th. So that's the Alan Wake-inspired DLC. Then we got Auto Chess trailer here for PS4, October 31st. The Pedestrian coming to PS4. Same situation with that Anno game we just mentioned. Cool perspective. That's coming to PS4. Hood, Outlaws, and Legends announced for PS5 2021. So this is a multiplayer, I think 4 versus 4 or 2 versus 2 heist-based multiplayer game. So you're trying to pull off heists against another group of people. Interesting take there. Temtem was also announced for PS5 coming 2021. This is a straight up and unapologetic Pokemon ripoff with an online take. Then to end off, we got an extended look at Godfall with an explanation of the gameplay mechanics, the different weapons available. They reconfirmed no microtransactions in this game, so that's always nice to hear. It's somewhat disappointing that that has to be a selling point that's made prominent amongst every other aspect of the game, but it's still very good to hear if you are interested in the game. And that's pretty much it. I think if you heeded Sony's warning about the content of the State of Play, then this was par for the course. Pretty accurate. It wasn't going to over-deliver, but if you knew what you knew going into it, then this was what you got. I mean, I would honestly be okay with another State of Play like this every 3-4 months that has your standard affair of announcements that aren't really mind-blowing, but rather things you'd normally see in the PlayStation blog, visualized in a nice presentation of, hey, here's game X, here's game Z, here's game Y, here's all the release date updates, you know, here's a showcase of a particular gameplay mechanic. I'm fine with that. And then for, you know, major stuff, major announcements, you'd have more specialized state of plays or presentations that you would, again, be transparent, let the audience know, here's what's coming up for this big PlayStation game that you're really waiting for. You know, there's ways to make it work and not upset many people when you go into this the realm of expectations, but you know, there's formulas that can work. Next up, we've got Sony's latest financial report to go over, and sure enough, this was once again a very successful quarter for the company, especially given the circumstance where this quarter is going over the pandemic that we're in right now. So there's some overlap with the stay-at-home orders where it starts from April 1st to June 30th, but what we're seeing is that this is PlayStation's best recorded Q1 ever with $1.15 billion in profit. Sony sold 1.9 million PS4 consoles. They're now at a grand total of 112.3 million. For PS4 software, they sold 91 million games, where 18.5 million of those were first-party titles. PlayStation Plus subscribers are now at 44.9 million, so that's also up from the previous year. And actually going back to software, the digital ratio on that is extremely high. 74% of those 91 million games were digital full game sales, which is really impressive. Although remember, the circumstance, people are at home, they're more encouraged to download games, they may not want to go to the store, or their stores may have been closed for a lot of these situations, but 74% still incredibly impressive. Now, it's worth noting that for certain quarters within Sony, and certainly for other publishers that disclose this information, there's been plenty of times where digital has overtaken physical, so it's happening more frequently than you may think. Although what we've seen is that it gets upwards of 60, sometimes 65, maybe 70%, but it really depends on the quarter. Oftentimes, the next quarter, it'll dip right back down, where physical is favored over digital. Usually during the holiday season, we see a lot of physical games getting sold, but it's usually a back and forth thing. It seems like it's very even for, again, the numbers that we do have, but of course, during this situation, digital skyrocketing there. We are very much in that transitional period where digital is taking over. And Sony also gives a breakdown on where their money is really coming from in the PlayStation landscape, and unsurprisingly, DLC, microtransactions, things like that is where the bulk of Sony's money is actually coming from, right? All their revenue. We're seeing console sales accounting for a very small portion. We've been over this a lot, where it's not necessarily making money on hardware, it's making your money on that software. Of course, because digital games represent a larger portion during this quarter, you're also seeing that reflected in the money being made in this chart as well. Overall, though, the PlayStation business doing fine during this situation that we're in. Video game revenues up across the board for a lot of companies as people are more interested in playing games. And PlayStation is also still the breadwinner for Sony Corporation, or the Sony Group, in total. Now, moving on, in our Tuesday video, we discussed how Spider-Man is going to be an exclusive character in Marvel's Avengers for PlayStation platforms, and understandably this upset many people, even PlayStation fans, for the somewhat insidious nature of this third-party deal. Despite the fact that Sony easily justifies it from their end as a business, it's just something where it rubs people the wrong way. Well, from what we're hearing, this might be more commonplace as we go into PlayStation 5, where Sony's getting very aggressive with more third-party deals. We're hearing over on Reset Era, Imran Khan, he's formerly of Game Informer, currently a Kind of Funny co-host, where he says, if you guys are mad about this, I suggest saving some energy, because the next year will be a marathon of getting upset. I do not know exactly what Microsoft is doing. I know Sony is doing this a lot. We also hear this being corroborated from Jez Corden, who's of Windows Central, so he mostly covers Microsoft platforms, where he says the same thing. Basically, expect more of this. Then we have a situation where over on Reset Era, back June 11th, before the See the Future event, this user, Navtra, made a post predicting the event, and a lot of what they said was pretty accurate, right? You got Ratchet & Clank, LBP spinoff, which is fairly specific, GT7, Horizon with the correct year, Spider-Man, not quite a sequel, but you know, Demon's Souls remake, Avengers exclusive DLC, that's also a pretty revealing one. New IP from Square Enix, but also Final Fantasy 16. So of course this has been put under the spotlight today, and this user has been vetted through Reset Era Mods as somebody with the potential to have access to this information. And they followed up, yeah, 16 is real. It was supposed to get announced during the June event, supposedly closer than most people would think, and it has some kind of PS5 exclusivity. It was vague back then, but could be full-timed exclusivity now, and they have no idea why the game wasn't announced just yet. Considering that Sony has a very good working relationship with Square Enix, which is well documented over decades of time, this is very believable, right? We've got Final Fantasy VII Remake, Project Athia. PlayStation's always been this premier place for JRPGs and aligning themselves with the Final Fantasy name. And even the publishers are well aware that if they make these types of games, they normally sell mostly on PlayStation. So this is a deal that, while monumental, is very believable. So if we go to the original rumor that we might see more third-party deals that actually upset people, that would be more in the veins of an IP that's expected to go everywhere, but only ships on PlayStation. Or like the Marvel thing, where it's a multi-platform game from the very onset, but you've got major exclusive content that is only available for PlayStation platforms. These are very aggressive business tactics, and like we said, nobody's an angel in this category. They all do it. It's the harsh realities of the console business where exclusivity is left and right, and so Sony obviously is going to be doing this for PlayStation 5 in a very big way, but it's almost uncommon for the scenario where it upsets a lot of people. Well, really, it's always going to upset somebody, but the nature of what we just defined here, right? Because normally with Sony, it's a second-party deal of like, they get involved with the project very early on, they fund it, they ask for IP ownership or console exclusivity or even timed exclusivity, even when they're helping fund the project. In some way, shape, or form, they get involved very early. It doesn't always appear as though they've stepped in after the game's finished or close to finished, and they're just paying to keep it off of something. And so it really depends on how this plays out and what deals we start seeing. But the first year probably will be very aggressive on the Sony side of things, and they're a major player in this market. They're not complacent in their position. They want to sell a lot of PlayStation 5s despite their brand leadership right now, and so you know they're going to do everything they can to make sure a PlayStation 5 gets in your household. But of course, the questions still remain. What's the PS5's price, release date, pre-order? Well, another report out of Bloomberg is claiming from an anonymous source inside Sony that the next PS5 major announcement is tentatively scheduled for sometime this month, later this month. Now, we're in the first week of August. There's 3 weeks left. Probably not going to be next week. So it might be that second half, closer to Gamescom, maybe a part of Gamescom. We don't know if it's a state of play, a PlayStation blog drop. Obviously, from the rumor we discussed on Tuesday, we are probably going to see a teardown very soon with Digital Foundry, and they'll certainly be involved. They were supposed to have access actually during the GDC talk. So now that restrictions are lightening up a little bit, they'll probably be allowed to visit Sony or however they want to plan that. But you know, we're getting close. I mean, it's obviously up until the very last minute. Everyone's getting very impatient about knowing the price and being able to go out and secure their unit. I'm there with you, right? I mean, I'm ready to do it too, but only a little bit longer. I know it's crazy, but from what we're hearing, looks like it's going to be sometime this month. I mean, really think about it. 30 days from now, in all likelihood, we're going to have everything ready to go. Pre-orders will already be in. Product pages up. We'll know about Series S. You know, we'll get a bigger outline of, you know, what the PS5's UI looks like and more detailed features. Same with Microsoft. I mean, we're close enough. September and then October will really be to a point where more finer details are ironed out. You know, fact pages will probably start going up, and that's where we'll know more thorough answers about PS5 that are more specific. But we're almost there. Now, we've got what might be a major update to the Silent Hill rumor, which is Konami themselves tweeting some nostalgic Silent Hill 2 stuff on Twitter. I don't know, it was a GIF or something. And then they followed up, easy there, internet, we were watching streams of Dead by Daylight, and then saying, we are sorry, we got people fired up. Anything would come from the official Silent Hill Twitter account in the event that something does pop up. But if you visit this Twitter account, it was made in July. So, seems awfully convenient. And, well, that's it. That's all we know. So, I mean, pretty telling, just on its own. We still need to wait and see when they want to talk about this. Seems like one of the worst kept secrets. It would be shocking if we didn't see this project at this point, but there's that. Now, there's also a report that back-end service providers are shipping out PlayStation 5s. So these are two separate supplier companies. You've got ASE Technology and Gretech Electronics. They've both commenced their PS5 shipments. So they do semiconductor manufacturing and testing. Gretech does integrated circuit testing. And so really this is just a part of the manufacturing process. So nothing crazy revealing, but just good to hear that everything seems on track. Remember, both Sony and Microsoft are very adamant about saying these consoles are shipping and releasing this year on time. So if there's still any doubt that that's not happening, this is some encouraging news. Moving on, it looks like Guerrilla Games has finally moved in completely to their brand new studio space in the heart of Amsterdam. If you recall, like 2 years ago, they were planning on moving to a new studio space to up their employees from 250 to 400, and that was, of course, to take on 2 projects at a time. We know that one of them is a sequel to Horizon, and the other one is some kind of unannounced first-person shooter. Don't know if it's SOCOM, probably not SOCOM. We're hearing at this point that that might be from the second team at Sony San Diego, so that's a minor update there, but of course completely unconfirmed. Consider it a rumor for now, but we also have this FPS at Guerrilla Games where could be Killzone again, but it could be a new IP. We don't really know. Either way, it's nice to see that they finally got into this space. Looks beautiful, and surely this is where they will now ramp up hiring to take on these projects. For our next news story, we've actually got a new leak for The Last of Us Part 2, but it's the factions mode that people are still waiting for. Remember, this was supposed to be a separate thing, and allegedly 11 seconds of the factions mode leaked onto YouTube and then was promptly taken down. I'm not actually seeing many places report on this, and I don't actually know what the footage looks like. Apparently, we just saw some prominent Last of Us Part 2 characters, playing in this 11-second, what it was probably very blurry footage from what it's described. And all we have right now is a link to the original video, which specifically states it was taken down by Sony Interactive Entertainment LLC. So not much to go on other than it exists and hopefully is still coming. I think that was also, like, there was some slight doubt here that maybe it wasn't coming anymore from the way that Neil Druckmann would dodge questions about it, but or maybe it's just, early alpha footage that was never meant to be. We still don't have any concrete details on if or when it's coming. With all of that out of the way, it's time to get to Let's Talk Plus, the weekly Let's Talk PlayStation giveaway where one of you can win a $10 PSN code. I'd like to congratulate this viewer right here. I'll be contacting you very soon via email or Twitter. If you would like to win a $10 code, it's very easy. We do this every single week on Let's Talk PlayStation. Follow the link down below. Support on this channel, a number of ways can gain you an entry, and I'll announce the winner next week because I'm trying to pay for your games. Those are all the news stories that I want to talk about with you all. Our Tuesday video was kind of like LTPS, right? A news update. So the accessories for PS5 or the Marvel thing, go check out those longer conversations for those topics. But coming up, I finally have a new trophy challenge video. Not quite like the 30 Platinums, if you remember that, but just another trophy video, which I know many have been asking for, alongside a PS4 random lot I found on eBay, so we got another one of those coming as well. Always cool stuff coming, just that I'm not sure where I want to place them now, right on Monday or maybe even Sunday. We want to open up that weekday a bit because, remember, it is August, so we will get major PS5 stuff. Hopefully soon, pending whatever Sony decides to do, and I hate doing double uploads. I don't know, just a preference thing, really. But you can always play it by ear. Follow me on Twitter, Mystic Ryan. I'll let you know if anything changes there for the upload schedule. sometimes I make these decisions last minute. You'd think there's planning involved, but there really isn't. Other than that, though, that's it. That concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan Becker. Thank you all so much for talking with me, and I will see you all next Friday.